Welcome back, y'all. I know we've been going for a little bit. I hope you and your family been doing all right during these challenging times. I wanted to make this video on how to use a graphing calculator, TI-83, to graph an equation. This equation here. Using a standard viewing window and then using this window. All right. So first of all, what do they mean by standard viewing window? The standard viewing window on your calculator is this window. X min is -10, X max is 10, Y min is -10, and Y max is 10. Let's see that on the calculator. So to see that on the calculator, we just click on window, right? See X min, -10, X max 10. Now, this XSCL means what are you counting by on the x-axis? So here we're counting by ones. And then Y min -10, Y max 10, and then Y scale is the increments on the Y axis, right? I'm not sure what X res is, but I don't think it has that much significance. All right, so here is the standard viewing window, and let's go ahead now and enter in that equation. So we're going to click on Y equals. And next, we're going to type in the equation, the right-hand side of the equation. So that's X. Now, to get to the power, we're going to type the caret button. 3 minus 3x, and then squared minus 13. And then graph, right? And then the calculator will graph that equation for us. All right, so here is the graph of this equation using the standard viewing window. Now, this graph here looks like a line. It appears to be a line, but this equation is a cubic equation. Now, a cubic equation does not have the shape of a line when you graph it. So, because I know that, because I have some familiarity with equations and how the general shape should look, I know then that this graph is misleading. This is only a part of the real essential features of this equation or graph, right? So these calculators can be misleading in giving you a graph of an equation that's really not really accurate. This is just one part of the graph of this equation. And I know this because I'm familiar with various common equations and how their graphs should appear. So before you start using a graphing calculator to graph equations, just know what the general shape of the equation should look like. All right? Be familiar with some of these common equations. All right, now let's sketch the graph of the same, equation using this viewing window, right? So I'm going to click on window, right? And I'm going to adjust my Windows settings so that they're the same as this. So X min negative 10, X max 10, Y max, Y min should be negative 25 now, and Y max 10. And then now if we click on graph, we can see what the real graph should be. Something fell. All right, let's continue this. I think it's going to be all right. So you can see that this graph here, now it does have the essential features, right? And I only know this because I know what the graph, I know a little bit of the nature of these the graphs of some of these common equations. All right. Now, if you were going to, put this graph or sketch this graph on paper, it would be inappropriate to just, come up and do this on your paper, right? If someone asks you to write this, sketch the graph of this equation, and you drew this on your paper, which looks similar to the actual graph, right? But your graph here that you drew is meaningless. Why? Because it has no coordinates on it. There's no reference point. We don't know, is this 100 here, this point where across the x-axis? Is this, 100 on the x? Is this -5 or -100? So you need some coordinate values when you sketch your graph. If you're sketching it on paper, you're going to need coordinates. So to get some coordinates, what you can do is press second and then graph or table. And then the calculator will generate some coordinates for you. So like 4, 3 is a point on this graph. So 4, 3 might be, it might be here. And 0, -13. That's another point on the graph. Right? See 0, -13. So we need, now that we have some coordinates on a curve, now it starts to have meaning. We have, reference points, given by ordered pairs. All right, so what else we want to say here? Your calculator is a very powerful tool for confirming how these equations, the graphs of these equations look. You can also type in second, trace, and if you press 1 or value and then enter, you can type in an x value. Say I type in 5, enter, and it'll give me a corresponding y value for when x is 5, y is 37. All right, so, calculator is a very powerful tool, and you can use it to graph equations. All right, I hope you found this video to be helpful, and I'll catch you on the next one.